Hi, I'm Tim. Join me in this video as we unbox, assemble, and test fly the FMS J-10 electric ducted fan RC model aircraft. Let's get to it. This is the FMS J-10, obviously all assembled. Per the instruction manual, they say that you can put it together in 30 minutes. Your first time, you're going to take longer than 30 minutes, but I will say that if you were to build a second one, you could literally put this together in 30 minutes. I've built a lot of FMS kits or assembled them. Very well made. Everything fits together pretty well. We'll go through the ins and outs of this one here, but it's a very nice airplane. Weighs about 2.4 pounds, uses elevons for control, does have reverse thrust, and a 4-channel battery for the electric ducted fan. So let's take a look at the unboxing. We'll put the plane together and then take it out to the RC field. This is the box of the 64mm. That's the fan size of the J-10 Vigorous Dragon. This is a 4th generation fighter from the Chinese Air Force. It's been in service about 20 years, roughly equivalent to an F-16, plus or minus. And I think I'll be getting the air show version here. It comes in 2 versions. The air show version, they're equivalent of the Thunderbirds or the Blue Angels, and then the gray one. I built a lot of FMS kits. I like them a lot. They're high quality kits. The box is a nice discussion of what's in there. I especially like the specification of this panel here. The wingspan is about 27 inches, the length 43, which means it'll fit in the car. Actually, this is the gray one. We'll go down here to the August 1st. The weight will be about 2.2 pounds, obviously brushless motor, 6 channels, which is normal, a location of the center of gravity, which I like a lot. That'll be nice. A 12-blade ducted fan. It'll be a 4-cell lipo battery. And again, pictures of the gray and the air show version. Will have the aerobatic team one in this. So this will be my first jet ever with the canards. I'm looking forward to that. And it does have fixed gear. It's not retractable at this price point. But let's go ahead and do an unboxing of what's inside here now. So this is what comes inside the box of the J-10. Very nice packaging. Let's just go through this step by step. I'm looking at this for the first time, so join me in this. Standard instruction manual here. Again, the FMS folks do a very good job with an illustration of how this goes together. So we'll study that here in a second. This looks like one of the wings, and everything is here. The wires and the servos built in. Nice little housing for that. And I'm guessing that this little 2-wire connection with a black and red wire is a light of some sort that goes here. So that's a nice touch to have the lighting. And then these are just connecting point for munitions. The airshow version, I don't think has any external emissions, but that's one wing right there. This is the other wing. Again, servo very nicely put in place. Everything is connected. It's just a solid connection, hinged. Everything's in place there, so it'll work out fine. The vertical tail, again, the servo connecting to the rudder. This is the connector there. And this will work out good. Again, another wire for the lights. And it looks like the light is up here on top of the fin. Some sort of spar reinforcement for maybe the canards up front. Let's see. Here's the nose. These are the canards, I guess. Or, oh no, probably ventral fins, I'm thinking, just looking at it. Landing gear looks pretty nice. This is the nose gear. And it's steerable, obviously, so we'll have to pay attention to that set screw for putting everything in place and connecting it. The main landing gear, nice presentation. These are it's just wire here. There's no oleo strut. Those are just click right in. So that'll be pretty normal with that, with some other bits and pieces. The refueling probe, and it looks like some sort of cable. Okay, so these are the canards, I'm almost certain. find out about that. So here's a fuselage. Nice presentation with a paint job, all the stuff, components installed. The wiring, the battery will be up here, and here's the nose gear that'll go in down here. So we'll figure all that out. A nice little cockpit here, canopy. And I think that completes everything that's inside the box. So the next thing to do is to study the instruction manual and put the thing together. This is another look at all the kit components taken out of the box, the fuselage, and all the bits and pieces, landing gear, cockpit cover, etc. To complete it, you'll need three things: the battery, a 4-cell battery, a 6-channel receiver, and a 6-channel transmitter. And if you're flying outside of a FRIA, you'll need a remote ID module of some sort. Taking a look at the fuselage, we can see inside the battery compartment up front, the wiring to the reflex transmitter, the battery cable connection, all very nicely laid out. Everything's in place, just very, very nice presentation. There's a wonderful instruction manual. 64mm, of course, is the diameter of the impeller. All the parts are listed in the kit, a very complete, very well assembled list of parts. Good illustrations on the instruction manual. The parts are just discovered, putting in the canards, the fact you'll need foam glue. I use 5-minute epoxy for these sorts of things. Just a good step-by-step instruction of what you have to do to put the airplane together. I removed the reflex stabilization system. You need things downloaded from your computer and so forth. I just fly without it on these sorts of kits. There's a fuselage again with all the connectors listed for the rudder, aileron, elevator, and so forth, because you'll be using your own receiver. The nose gear, again, you can see the canards here. I elected to glue those in towards the end of assembly, just so I don't ding them as I'm building the fuselage. Important step, that's the extension for the nose gear. You see the flat area where the Allen wrench will screw in to set to the nose gear. If there's a nose gear in place, that little black dot is the Allen wrench to keep everything connected. Nice clean installation, and of course it is a steering one. There's the Allen wrench there. The main gear are very easy to put in. The wire just slots into the holes, and then there are some blue covers with the supplied screws. Again, you'll need the Allen wrench to keep everything glued in, but very firm, tight landing gear. This is the model on its landing gear, all set to be working on the tail. This is where the rudder connection for the rudder servo goes. There's a 2-wire connection for the lights. I just couldn't find that in the back. I can see the 3 wires for the motor, but not the wire for the light. These are the 2 connectors for the ailerons and the lights. On either side, again, I couldn't see the 2-wire for the lights, but by kind of tugging on this aileron, I can figure out which one is which for the aileron connection. The spar for the wing is a must. Wings are simply slotted onto that spar. There are 2 screws at the rear and forward that hold the wing in place, and it's a nice tight connection. The screws go right in. Here's the other wing in place, same way with 2 screws over the spar, and the model is basically complete at this point. Here's a finished airplane, all set on its gear. The canards are glued in. I use 5-minute epoxy for that. And the ventral fins are glued in as well. And we're all set really to power it up and get ready for test flight. So I finished assembling the J-10. It went together very well. It's an FMS product. I've made a number of these. There's some things that need corrections. I've worked with the folks at FMS, and I take them at their word that they'll fix them in later production kits. Very minor stuff. So I have a list of this, so let me go through it right now. As you saw when I was building it, there was literally no wire to connect from the airplane to the light on top of the vertical fin. That just wasn't there. And on the wing, instead of a 2-wire system, there was a 3-wire that I just couldn't get it to work, so the lights in the wings don't work. It's a shame. I would have liked to have seen the lights. They're very nice lights because you can see them in the fuselage. That's just the way the kit came with that, so that happened. An excellent fit with the wings onto the fuselage. that one wing spar, there are 4 screws in the bottom. You saw that where you attach the wings. Sometimes those don't quite line up. It lined up fine on this one. I was very satisfied with that. You will need a 4-cell lipo to operate this aircraft. There is reverse thrust on that, and let me show that to you right now. So to take off the canopy, there's a little button here. We push this button, and that allows the canopy to come off. So what will happen is, this is the 4-cell lipo, and in the receiver, if you see, this goes into the throttle, this 3-wire connection, which is absolutely standard. This single yellow one, that's your reverse thrust. It can go into any available channel. The top one for the signal, you can set that up for reverse thrust, and I will demonstrate how that works once we power up the jet. Now, one item that was a pretty big item that's entirely fixable, but the aircraft uses elevons, and elevons are a combination elevator and aileron in the back. It's just how a delta wing aircraft is operated, think the Concorde. And so these rear control surfaces provide both pitch and roll through the elevon function. That is not mentioned anywhere in the directions. They still have elevators and ailerons like a normal airplane. So what will happen is you'll have to have a computer radio, typically a 6-channel radio. You'll have to go into the software of your radio how to do the elevons. I have a video I'll list in the description that shows how elevons work, how you can set it up, in my case with a Spectrum DX6 radio. But these are elevons for the plane, then with a normal rudder, then the throttle for the ESC. So that's a biggie on that. There's a lot of these little protrusions. There's an antenna here, a refueling probe here, ventral fins down below. Even things like these canards here, just be careful when you're assembling the aircraft because they're sticking out a lot of places. I put blocks underneath the aircraft and it's upside down assembling it just so you don't snap these off. Note also the canards in the front here are fixed. They're glued in place. They don't move, so that simplifies construction a little bit on this particular model here. I like the landing gear a lot. It's very solid landing gear. It goes in well, fits well, so just good landing gear on that. So I want to give a shout out on that. The control throws, I just kind of took an estimate of it because the control throws in the directions show both elevators and ailerons. So I kept it at what they said, about 8/10 of an inch for the elevons. So we'll see how that works. From the directions, they list an elevator and an aileron with different throws. There are elevons that have the same throw, and I used about 0.5 inches for the elevons. I was very happy to see the center of gravity being listed, and what I did was I literally marked it on the wing. The plane balances out with a 4-cell battery, so that is important. You will need glue to assemble this aircraft. It's not supplied. They say about a phone-safe glue. I use and I recommend 5-minute epoxy. You want strength on a lot of this stuff. So you will have to have some 5-minute epoxy to glue on. The fin is glued on, the canards are glued on, and so forth. And the other thing that's pretty important is you've got to have some very specialized small Allen wrenches to put in the various screws for the wings and so forth. It would be nice if these were supplied with a kit because they're very specialized screws. You have to have these, and so if you don't have them, you're going to have to go out to buy them. It's necessary to assemble the kit, so just keep that in mind. I don't know the size because it's listed in the instructions, but they're small Allen wrenches. So those are my minor little write-ups in the assembly. Overall, very happy with the kit. What we'll do now, give me just a few minutes, I'll power it up, and we'll just see how the motor works, reverse thrust, and so forth. So we powered up the airplane. Let's take a look at the elevons. That's the key thing. So up, down, and left and right, plenty of throw. We'll take a look at the rudder on the tail, plenty of throw in that, and the nose turns as well, that's fine. The motor, plenty of thrust with that, and then if I want to do the reverse thrust, I just flip it over here. This is the way, it's a pretty small intake in front. There's not a ton of reverse thrust compared to other airplanes, but that is what it is for now. So that's what we'll do. So we're all set, and the next thing we'll do is wait for a good day, and I'll see you at the flying field, and we'll take it for a test flight. So we're here at the field for the test flight of the J-10. Just a perfect day for flying, So we'll go ahead, get the battery checked up, hooked up, another check for the center of gravity, do a flight control check with the elevons, throttle, reverse thrust. They'll try it for a test flight, and wish me luck. The J-10 has a delta wing configuration with canards. It is characteristic of this configuration. The nose will tend to drop during turns. That's why the canards are there, to keep the nose up. The canards don't move, so just keep in mind if you have a steeply banked turn, the nose will drop a little bit. Ease off the bank, raise the nose, and that'll help you fly the airplane. With that being said, well, it's getting ready for the first flight. Always I look to make sure we have enough power on these airplanes, plenty of power in this aircraft. It tracks very nicely straight down the runway, but I've got too much control. It's about 0.8 of an inch, and you can see it just was going back and forth quickly on takeoff. I just had to settle down as best I could, knowing that when I landed, I would have to reduce the control throw, and it should fly a lot better. But again, it flies well, just very twitchy and roll due to the 0.8 of an inch control throw, just too much for this airplane, for this configuration with the elevons. In any event, we circle around. This is the first landing. It lands fast, but we got it down nicely and taxied back from that. We reduce the control throw to about 0.5 inch on the elevons. I think that's about right for this. Again, at takeoff, a little bit less on the rotation because we have less throw on the aileron, but immediately much more comfortable on the turnout. The plane handles well. It's got a lot of control authority with pitch and roll. You see it's a lot smoother here. Zips right along. And circle around for the second landing, really quite comfortable. You're fast. Just keep it up with the flare, and there we are for the rollout. So we're back from the two first flights of the J-10 from FMS, and I'm super satisfied with it. You saw both flights, so let's talk about that just for a second. The plane has plenty of power. There's no problem with that. But as I mentioned in the shop, there is no discussion of how much control throw should be for the elevators and ailerons, because they're listed as elevators and ailerons, but they're elevons. They're both in the tail. And so I went with 0.8 of an inch throw. That was way too much. So on the first takeoff, just about lost it. It was so responsive in roll. Good in pitch, but good in roll. So we got that flight done, landed. I reduced the throw by 40% on the elevons, so it's a little bit more than, less than half of the cutback. Much smoother. You see, on the takeoff, there was enough up authority for the takeoff. So it flew fine. Like I said, it's got plenty of power. Keep in mind with this delta wing, just as a characteristic of delta wing, when you're turning, the nose will drop. So you have to add back pressure up elevons as you go into the turn. And just keep track of the orientation, because it has a unique shape. But flies fine. You saw the second landing get a little bit wobbly on the landing. That's just the nature of this type of airplane, because the gear is so narrow on it. There's just not a lot of width and stance on the gear. But very happy with the airplane. Looks great. Back in one piece. Very nice airplane.